Today, I'm going to show you how to start seeds the right way. It's mistake-proof, distraction-proof, and after growing thousands of seedlings from my market garden, I can vouch for this system that it's more than effective for your seed starting. I've developed a system that works every time without any fancy equipment. Day 15 of our gardening challenge is all about taking control of your food supply one seed at a time. You're probably watching this because you've been seeing all these videos about seed starting, and you either wonder if you should start seeds on your own, or you're convinced that you should, but you're afraid you're not going to do it the right way. Now, for those of you who aren't sure if you should start your seeds, let me back up and give you some reasons why I think starting your seeds is definitely the way to go. Before I get into the two best seed starting tips that will make your seed starting effortless, I want to back up and explain to you the reasons why you might want to start your seeds. Starting your own seeds allows you to take advantage of heirloom and open pollinated varieties so that you can start your seeds, harvest food, and then save seeds. So, for example, you can take advantage of heirloom and open pollinated varieties, which simply means that when you grow a plant and you save those seeds, the seeds that you save come back exactly the same as the parent plant the year before. That's not always the case with hybrids. And so for that reason, heirloom and open pollinated seeds give you a great opportunity to be able to save seeds for yourself and use them over and over again. If you buy a pack of tomato seeds, for example, for $3, and let's say you grow and plant 10 of those plants, you'll have tons of tomatoes all season. Then you hold back a tomato or two, you save the seeds from that fruit, and you'll have seeds for years to come from those plants. You don't have to buy them. They're free. Being able to start seeds effectively means that you get to start what you want when you want. Very soon, we're all about to be caught up in that beautiful gloriousness that is shopping for plants at your local garden center. For this reason, spring is probably one of the most favorite times of the year for most gardeners. The smell of fertilizer in the air and the warmth and the look of the beautiful green plants, like we all love it. We're all waiting for it. It's amazing. This is truly one of the best times of the year for gardeners. But after this first round of spring rush of planting, the spring rush of planting is over, you'll likely want to plant other rounds of vegetables after that. Think about fast-growing plants like cucumbers and squash, lettuces, scallions. You're going to want to be able to plant some more of those after that initial spring harvest is over. And most of your garden centers are not going to have a ton of those plants left, if any at all. They've already switched gears to a lot of your summer bedding plants. And actually, the next time that most of your garden centers will have any kind of edible food or edible plants will be collards or cabbages for fall planting. And I'm guessing that everyone eats every day, at least I hope. And so you're going to need to be able to eat through the summer. If you want to grow enough food to feed your family, you'll have to have a way to make that happen. And you can't just rely on garden centers. And so that's why starting your own seeds is so crucial to be able to do in a cost-effective way and in a way that you can manage and incorporate into your busy life. Now, let's say that I've convinced you to start your own seeds, but you're worried about how to do it the right way. You don't want to spend money on a bunch of stuff that you don't need, and you want to be able to incorporate it into your busy lifestyle. Your success is based on your understanding that when you start seeds, or basically anything in life, I actually just got interrupted when I was filming this video. You will always be interrupted. And so you have to make sure that your process is interruption proof. And so I'm going to show you some real practical tips and tricks that are going to help you with that so that no matter what you're doing, you can incorporate, you can switch gears, start some seeds, get them going. And it doesn't have to be a big production. It doesn't have to be something that you've got to dedicate hours to. It's something you can easily do. So you don't need an elaborate greenhouse setup to start seeds. You'll need basic seed starting mix, clean containers with drainage, a simple shop light that is an LED light. These are the cheapest that you could use by far, and they are the ones that I recommend for starting seeds. Now, a heat mat for warm season crops is good to have, but you don't have to have it. And to be honest with you, for the first season or two, I did not have it. I just put my peppers in a warm place and they decided they were going to germinate just fine. And so I did not buy a heat mat for my pepper germination until a couple years in. So for the exact process, we're going to we're going to use 50 cell trays. I use 50 cell trays from Bootstrap Farmer. They are super sturdy. They'll last you several seasons if you take care of them. And by taking care of them, I mean just don't leave them outside in the sun and the UV. Just take care of them as soon as they're done, put them away in your basement out of the sun, and they'll last a long time. So these 50 cell trays are being filled. Here you can see I use Dirtcraft Organics. There are other smaller quantities of soil that I recommend, and I have links below that you can look into for your own seed starting. So we're putting the soil into these containers, and then the next step in the process is to label them. Now, this is one of my first pro hacks. I want you to make sure that when you have a seed tray, whether it's a 6 cell tray or a 50 cell tray, 100 cell, whatever it is, write out your markers, like write out exactly what variety you are planting and space them out in your trays according to how many plants you're planting. So if you are planting, let's say you're planting 2 seeds per cell and you need 20 cells, make sure you mark that off and that you give yourself room in your tray to do that. And you put your marker in there. And then after you've given yourself space for that crop. And if you're going to plant other crops in that tray, that you put that marker. So you have your whole tray labeled before you even put a seed in there. And that's really important because you want to be able to walk away from the process at any point, because let's say you got interrupted by something and you can come back to it and you'll know where you are. Okay. So you want to label that whole tray at one time. And then after you label your tray, and let's say you're ready to start seeding, putting your seeds in there, then I just use my finger and I put a hole in each cell, and I do the whole tray. If I'm seeding the whole tray, I go ahead and do that for every single cell in the tray. Then you place your seeds. So based on the germination rate, if your seeds have a really poor germination rate, like less than 85%, I will usually overseed my cells, which just means I'll add more seeds than I expect to come up because my germination might be poor. But usually in this case that you're seeing here for my peppers, these are all new pepper seeds and they all have really good germination or decent germination rate for pepper seeds. So I'm okay with that. And I'm going to put 2 seeds per cell because most of these are going to come up and I want to up pot all of those. That's another pro tip that I hadn't thought about for this video, but you want to plant as many, you want as big a cell. The 50 cells are pretty big, and I can plant a couple or 3 pepper plants in each one. They pop up and then I take them out and I pot them up. So instead of only putting 1 seed per cell and then having to use more space under my grow lights, I'm able to more effectively use the space by cramming in as many seeds as I can or as I feel comfortable with and then potting them up once they germinate. So here is another pro tip for you. When you are putting your seeds in your cells, I don't want you to cover them up until the entire tray has been seeded, okay? It's gonna feel a little bit weird probably. Let's say you had a tray and you wanted to seed 4 different varieties of plants. What you might be tempted to do is you might be tempted to put your holes in there and then put your seeds in for one variety, cover them up, but then if you were to walk away from that tray and come back, it's not clear to see. You can't really tell what you've done and what you haven't done because an unplanted cell looks the same as a planted cell. So what I want you to do is poke all of the holes in all of the cells at first, right? And then I want you to go by each variety that you want to plant. I want you to put all of your seeds in for that variety, then all of the other seeds for the next one, and so on until your entire tray is planted. Now, only then do I want you to go back and cover those seeds with soil. The reason I do this is because I have been caught so many times double seeding cells. I planted a seed, covered it, got pulled away for goodness knows what, came back, forgot, and planted over it again. So I don't want that to happen for you. I want you to know exactly what you've got going, exactly where you've done, what you've done, and where you've been. So that's why we label everything at once. We poke all the holes in the cells at once, and then we seed all at once, and then we cover all at once. So you know exactly what to do or where you left off, if you had to leave off, so that you're not wasting things, you're not confused. You got all this and you're good to go. Okay. I have learned this through trial and error, I promise you. And when I don't do it, I regret it. And you'll say, "Oh, I'll always remember. Never mind. No worries, no worries." You won't. Something will happen. I promise. Please, please, please. So, this is your way of being successful and planting what you think you're planting, and only what you think you're planting. So that's the deal. And then once you cover with soil, I want you to just lightly spritz the top and then bottom water all of that soil so that your seeds will have enough moisture. Now, some people like to put the water in their seed starting mix first and then put it in the tray. Whatever you do, it's up to you. I was seeding these trays. The trays that you see in this video were seeded inside my house because it was kind of cold and rainy and I didn't want to be outside. So I waited to put water in until after I had seeded them, just because I didn't want like mud and water and stuff in the house. But that's entirely up to you. If you want to put water in your seed starting mix first, totally makes sense. Okay, so that's the process. And then after that, I put these are 3 trays of seeds. These are all peppers, some hot, some sweet. They're for my market garden. They are for some seedling sales, and they're all going on a heat mat. And you can see I have this Vivo Sun 48 inch by 20 or so inches. It will hold 4 trays at a time, which is awesome. You may not need something this big. I got this one a couple days ago to replace the one that my daughter's leopard gecko has under the hide in the cage. The leopard gecko is getting a little older and needed like some warmth. So I sacrificed my seedling mat to put all the way under it. So as a result, I had to buy a new one. They have a smaller one so that you are only heating up 1 tray, but I like this one because I need pretty much as much heat as possible for as many trays as possible. So it works for me. Common mistakes that I see gardeners make with seed starting is incorrect temperatures, or starting your seeds too soon, like too early, and then they get too big. Not using good lighting. We'll get into lighting later. I just wanted to show you how to start the seeds here. I'll take these plants later. Once they germinate, you can see they're just in a window here. Once they germinate, I will put them in my basement grow light space and let them kind of get a little bit bigger. But you don't have to have expensive grow lights. I have grow lights down below that I'll link to that are pretty cheap. They're pretty inexpensive. They're 4 feet long shop lights that are LED. 5,500 Kelvin is good. A lot of times people will tell you need to have 6,500, which is the Kelvin value of daylight. That's very handy to have and super fun, but you don't have to have a 5,500 Kelvin will also work. You don't want to get too much lower or too much warmer in temperature or lower in Kelvin than that color temperature. You don't need a full spectrum grow light because you are not growing these plants solely under grow lights. Full spectrum lights are for plants that you're growing and they stay under the grow light during the flowering process, during the fruiting process. And so they need a full spectrum of light that mimics the sun. What we're doing is we're only growing these until they're big enough to plant outside. So for that reason, you don't need a full spectrum grow light for what we're doing. It's just not necessary. It's overkill and it's expensive. So I've linked some grow lights down below. If you want to just buy one, they're like $20 a piece. If you want to buy like 10 or so, I think you get a bit of a deal and they end up being close to like $7 or $8 a piece. But that's a good deal because for a 4-foot long grow light can illuminate several trays at once. So you can get a really good sized garden going with those if you choose to do that. Now you know exactly how to start your seeds like a pro. Remember that every successful garden starts off with healthy seedlings. And tomorrow in day 16 of the challenge, we're covering hardening off your seedlings. It's what you're going to do when you take these precious babies that you have taken care of for weeks, when you take them out from under your lights or wherever you have them, and before you put them in your garden, you want to make sure that you toughen them up a little bit. And so that's what the hardening off process is. We will cover that tomorrow, which is day 16. Subscribe to have all of this content in one place and so that you have access to this challenge. I will see you later. Thank you so much for being here. I know you could be anywhere and you chose to spend this time with me. Bye for now.